Welcome to this episode of Chatting with Staxx. I'm your host, Bill Staxx, and today we got Larry Mazza.
And,
So
it's
Greg
crazy.
had his own brother killed?
That's what they say, yeah. I mean, again, I don't know that. He never told me that. I don't know it firsthand, but a law enforcement friend, old friend, told me, yep, he had that done. And it had something to do with Sal getting some paperwork that they brought to him during the war, just before the war started, because they wanted him to convince, to come over to their side. And he would never turn on his brother, but they gave him paperwork that showed he was a red.
And it could have been not even true.
Yeah, well, I mean, it turns out it is true, but that you're right. It doesn't matter. I don't know. But no, he's a cut above, And then there's other killers like Tommy Karate, who chops up bodies. The Gemini Lounge guys, they chop guys up, but you know what? I don't know if they'd walk into a crowded restaurant like Greg did and just pop a guy and walk out with sunglasses on and not even a disguise. He didn't give a fuck, but he wouldn't chop up a body. And he cringed at that. He's like, I'm just sit there and do that. It's too much work anyway.
Gas pipe was pretty ruthless too.
Yeah, gas pipe was ruthless. Yep. Ballsy. He'd walk into a crowded place too. No, it was a different type of animals,
Now, when you're on the street with a person like Gas Pipe, how is he? How is it his demeanor?
Well, I got to know him more in prison when we were in MCC, obviously before everybody went their separate ways, because he went his own way too.
He fucked that up pretty good.
He's the type of guy who wanted to stab somebody over a tomato. I just say, Anthony, what are you crazy? Who cares if he got an extra tomato? And he hated the fucking guy because he got an extra tomato at dinner. Wanted to kill him. Wanted to stab him with a fork.
He was never going to make it in the witness protection program.
No,
someone like him.
I don't think so.
No,
so there's all kinds of crazy guys, and then there's just old time, gangsters or Cosa Nostra guys, old time that just go way back, and they did it quietly. They did it because it had to be done. There's all different types of personalities. It's crazy.
Any of these people leave you uneasy when you were around them?
Well, I guess not, because of my tightness with Greg, how close I was to him, and that gave you a bit of a shield, or a coat of armor, that nobody was really going to mess with us because of that.
Did you ever have to go to Greg for a problem? Like, hey, Greg.
Well, no. I was never a runner. I never ran to him. But if I had a beef with somebody that owed money or something like that, and I let them know where it was at, they would normally go to their guy, and they would come and he'd say, "Why don't you tell me?" I said, "Well, I handled it, Greg. I told the guy what I had to tell him, and you got to let me know everything, But I didn't want to be known as the guy that runs to him all the time. I know his son didn't do that. A lot of us didn't. Some guys did. Some guys did. They jumped right into, "Oh, you're gonna have to see Greg," and I just didn't like doing that. You wanted to be your own man to some extent. I had a big beef with Paul Castellano's nephew. It's in my book, and I didn't even tell him about that. Well, the truth is, I didn't know who it was. I didn't know it was his nephew. But I did have a beef in the after hours, and I'm supposed to let him know, but it's over with. It was over a girl, whatever. A couple of days later, I get called to a meeting. I find out it was Paul Castellano's nephew. I got the better of it. I was a young kid. I was in martial arts. I could handle myself. And again, it wasn't horrible. It ended fairly quick.
Just a fist fight, right? Basically.
Yeah, and I hit him with a kick that he never saw coming, and that's when he went down. And it ended. And I didn't go finish him off or go to work on him. It was over. I left. I didn't want no problems. And but I got called in, and he wanted satisfaction, and he put on the big act like I should be killed. And Greg had to call Scappy to come in, who was part of the committee, and he could sit with him at the time because Junior first goes away. Long story short, I had to thank Scappy for saving my life. So it's like I owed him my life now too. But I'll tell you this, Greg jumped out of his seat at one point and told Paul, if a hair is harmed on his head, you'll see more bodies in the street than you can imagine.
What
And
year was
Scappy,
that? What year was this?
oh God, that had to be early 20s. I was between 82 and 84 because Paul was the boss. Obviously, he was still alive. And Sammy was just a skipper because he was there that night when I got called there. And as a matter of fact, after the meeting, when I left, Sammy was outside. He says, "You should have killed that cocksucker." He didn't like Paulie's nephew. Scappy had to tell Greg, but that's one thing I'll say about Greg. He took our back a zillion %. He could have gotten in trouble for jumping down a boss's throat like that.
Except at the end. It all comes
But he,
down.
well, right. Well, I'm what I'm saying. During life, this is what made us loyal to him. If I got in a beef, like another time we got in a fight, me and Jimmy, not me and him, with a ball. We fought the whole bar. And we came out, we had black eyes and bruises. And, you know, a lot of guys might not have walked out, but it was a cop joint. The next day I'm wearing dark sunglasses, and I didn't wear dark sunglasses like he did all the time. And he's looking at me, finally he sees the bruise. He says, "What happened?" And I told him. He hit the table. He said, "Where are they? He wouldn't rest for every hour. He asked me, "Did you find these guys?" The next morning, "Where are they? I want them." He wanted to go finish, get even.
And these are cops. These are fucking cops.
So finally, I was with my cousin Joey, and we seen one of them come out of a gym on 86th Street. I whipped the U-turn right in the street, jumped out, and we left him there. I mean, we gave him a good beating back. I told Greg, and then he calmed down. He would not let anything go. And the other thing is, he wasn't the type of boss to tell you, "Go do this, go do that." He says, "Larry, take a ride." I would go with him, and first few times I'm with him, and he runs in, and I hear a gunshot. The next time he says, "Come in with me." I watch him. Eventually we both have a gun, and he looks at me, and I got to do it. It's a gradual thing, but he never just sent you to go do something. All of those things built that loyalty. But unfortunately, the pin burst when it's like a balloon blowing up. All that loyalty and love and camaraderie and close friendship. Once that happened, it was like blowing up a balloon or crumpling a piece of paper. I remember him telling me, once you crumple a piece of paper, you can never uncrumple it. It'll never be the same.
Once you squeeze toothpaste out of the tube, you can't put it back in.
Right. He says so.
Same concept.
Yep. Yeah. So, but and sometimes I think about those days, and I don't want to say in a nicer way, but when it always comes back to the ending that, it's just the reality. It's almost like all the gangster movies, they never end good. Look at Scarface. He had everything. Look how it ended. Goodfellas, how did it end?
Yeah,
Casino,
they don't retire. Paul Castellano, look where he ended up.
Yeah, it never ends good for anybody. No, name one person. People say Meyer Lansky. Yeah, it okay, but you know what? At the end, he was a man without a country. Israel wouldn't take him. He was banned from America. He lost a fortune to Cuba. He could never get his money back. He lost a fortune in Vegas. He could never get his money back. So with all the money he made, it didn't end really that great for him either. Who else? Didn't end good for John Gotti. Didn't end good for Junior Persico. The Chin had a great run. Didn't end good for him. I mean, whether you get killed,
Sammy walking away into the sunset.
No, but even him, it didn't end good because you know what? He couldn't get out of the system. And, he wound up in trouble again, wound up doing 20 more years. So now he came out, almost an old man, and he's doing podcasts today. So is he happy with that? I mean, I don't know. And with his name, he's probably doing well. God bless him. He's probably got a good following. But would you say it ended well? I don't know. Maybe he is an example where it ended. Nah, but not the 20 years killed it. When he made the deal and got his 5 years, if he would have been out and living a great life,
and you would say yes. But look what he did. He goes right back and he
Yeah.
shows.
But then again, we're talking more about the people that decided to just stick it out.
Yeah.
You know, it never ends good. You get killed, you get ratted on, you get backstabbed somehow, you get robbed, you get stepped over. It's really just, it's, you know.
Do you find that a lot of people are talking behind each other's backs in the life?
Oh yeah, no, without a doubt. You know, we used to have a joke. We didn't want to be the last one to leave the table. We wanted to be the last one. I'd never get up and leave because I know the minute I walk away, that fuck, look what he did the other
Fucking
day.
guy.
You know?
Yeah.
And he's no good. You know. So I said, I'll wait. I'll be the last one to leave and just listen. No, there's a lot of that, and there's a lot of lying. You know, you'll hear once like I've met people over the years. I met one recently. I was told something by Greg that I take as gospel. Then I meet Greg Jr. all these years later after prison, and he tells me a whole different version. Then I meet somebody else recently that says, "Oh no, that's not how it happened." You know, on a hit or a big hit that Greg did. Now I'm hearing other things. You know, so with all the hits he had, he just still, you know, had to build himself up even more. I don't know.
Embellishment,
You know,
a little
like
bit.
he told me like Mimi guy Dominic Shallow, Mimi Shallow, crazy captain. If we get cut off, we'll finish this next time.
All right.
But he gets called into a captain's only meeting. Okay, and he's a skipper. He walks in, and Greg is there, one of the guys. So he already knew something was up. But Greg was a boss's man. He was every bit supposed to be there.
So he's supposed
but
to
he
be
wasn't.
there.
He wasn't
He's
an
not a
official
captain.
skipper.
Yeah.
Right. So he walks down the steps. And this is on President or Carroll Street or that area, downtown Brooklyn. And it's the bottom of an apartment building. There's already cement dug up. There's already a grave there. He sized it up. He started spitting at them because he knew he was going. And Greg shot him. I just heard from somebody else that he mentioned, I don't want to get in a bad position here, that he was there too, or he was part of it. So, you know, it's, but he wasn't a skipper at the time. So it's
What's
weird.
the truth? Like,
yeah. No, you know, I don't know. I don't know, but you know, Greg did tell me that. You know, Greg told me he killed Matty the horse's brother over a beef. I think we spoke about that. You know, because his brother got abused by Matty the horse's brother. So, you know, but then you hear something a little different along the way. But for the most part, you know, the ones that I was there with him, I don't need any stories to know how vicious and how tough, ruthless he was.
That paranoid feeling that you can get when you're involved with some crazy crimes, because I know that feeling, right? Did you have that feeling after these murders are being committed? Did you ever feel that way? Like, fuck, I shouldn't be involved with this. I don't want to go to prison. Did you ever feel like that? Like across the line too far?
Well, we knew we crossed the line in to the public, but in our own circle, that was the life. So, you know, early on as a kid, when maybe gave that first beating, I would say, wow, that's pretty bad.